Hello everyone, my name is Angelica and welcome to my channel. So for today's video, I prepared 3 DIY minimalist home decor projects. It actually came out, I was using clay in all of these projects. I was using air dry clay and polymer clay. It wasn't planned this way, but one of the idea I had just didn't work great as I was expecting, so I had to use the clay again, but you will see what I mean later on in this video. All 3 projects are kept in very simple and organic shapes, plus in neutral colors, so I hope you will like it, and without any further ado, let's jump right into the first project. To create nice round shape of my candle holder, I will be using this glass jar as a template. And as a main product, I will be using Fimo polymer clay in white color. I start with taking quite a big piece of this clay and rolling it out. Polymer clay is very hard, so rolling it out takes quite a lot of time and energy. I know there is some special machines to roll it out and they look like pasta makers, but I don't have one, so I'm using rolling pin instead. I try to roll it out to the same thickness all around. Then I take my glass jar, place it on the top of the clay, and using sharp knife I cut the circle out. I mark it slightly bigger than the bottom actually is, and then I go again with the knife, pressing it harder and cutting out the shape. I tap the edges to smooth it out and leave it on the side. Then I roll another piece of clay which will create the wall of my candle. And to create more texture and pattern, I put some ground pepper on top of the clay and roll it slightly again so it will stick to the clay. I take tailoring tape and take the measurements around the jar and then transfer it into the clay. Using ruler, I cut out nice rectangle shape. Now it's time to put these 2 parts together. I place the circle part under the jar and a long piece around it. I would highly recommend to use some cooking oil on the jar before putting the clay. It will help removing it when it's baked. I forgot to do it and I will have small problems later on. To get rid of the lines and smooth out the connections, I go around with my fingertips and tap it slightly. I'm going with the knife around the jar to straighten the edge of my candle holder. I take small piece of clay and roll it out to create handle which will go on the side of the holder. Using wooden tool, I connect handle to the other part of the clay. I bake it for 30 minutes in 110 Celsius degrees, but make sure you follow your clay recommendations. After baking and cooling down, it's nice and hard. And as you can see, I'm not able to remove it from the glass as I haven't used the oil. So I've placed the lid on my jar and using pliers, I kind of pushing the clay off the jar. I take candle wick and place it in the center of the dish. Then I take melted wax and pour it inside up to the top, and I leave it on the side till setup. I think this little cup is so cute. Please be aware that I don't recommend to light up this candle, it's more for decoration purpose. I'm not 100% sure how the heat gonna affect the clay. For my head sculpture, I will be using Das air dry clay, some knives, and I also purchased recently this pottery sculpting tool set. I will be mostly using the ones with flat ends. I take quite a big piece of clay and start kneading between my hands. Air dry clay becomes softer and easy to work with after contact with warmth of your hands. So I've created two separately parts. One is more like an egg shape and one is cylinder. And to make these two parts nicely connected together, I'm using one of the wooden tools. I start creating head shape out of the top part. You can always have some photo on the side as a template. I'm not gonna lie, at one point I wasn't even sure what I'm doing. It was so hard to transfer my idea into the clay. I've used air dry clay before, but never for making sculptures. I have so much respect for people who do realistic looking sculptures. I've thought I've got easy creating more like an abstract design. I of course try to keep it symmetrical, so I cut out the same or at least similar shapes on both sides. I think air dry clay is much softer than normal clay, but I still think these tools work pretty well. Then to smooth the whole surface, I took some jar with the water and I was dipping my tool into this water and then go again around the cut parts. Once the head was done, I've started shaping the neck, just to make it a bit slimmer and to match the rest of the design. Sculpture is ready. Now I'm collecting all the spare clay and I place it inside the box with water. I will use it later in my future projects. I don't like any waste. After 2 days of drying, the sculpture is now fully dry and hard. Well, what can I say? It's an abstract art. When I was doing it, I was quite impressed with it. After a few days, I look at it and I laugh inside a little bit. Anyways, I took sanding block and smooth out the whole surface, making sure to not ruin the shape and the edges. So let me know what are your thoughts about this sculpture. I quite like it in a funny sort of way. I know it's far away from being perfect, but for the first time, I'm quite happy with the result. For my last project, I'm using some old flower pot. Size and color depends on your preferences. Using Sharpie, I draw the abstract face design. It don't have to be perfect as it's only the template. So my first idea to create this design convex was to use hot glue. Just go along the lines and create a design. Unfortunately, that didn't work as well as I was expecting. It's really hard to create same thickness all the way, so it ended up just looking messy. So as an alternative, I decided to use polymer clay. It's very durable and you can easily make thin rolls to create a design. So I roll out thin lines and start putting them along the drawn lines on the pot. This clay is also very stickable, so there is no worries it will move on the pot. I tap it slightly so it sticks nicely to the pot and then bake it in this position for 30 minutes at 110 Celsius degrees. After baking, the clay hardens and stays at the same position. If you are not sure if your clay won't move or already it doesn't stick in some places, you can always use hot glue or super glue to secure it. I took it outside and spray painted with primer, only because the yellow is very bright and I don't want it to come through the other paint I'm going to apply. Then I took white acrylic paint and I've mixed it with few teaspoons of baking soda. This mixture will create really nice texture on the pot. And using paintbrush, I applied this paint all over my pot. For better coverage, I applied 2 layers. These pots are super trendy and available in many home decor stores, but why buy it when you can DIY it? I'm really happy how it turned out. Let me know in the comment section what you think about these projects and which one is your favorite. Because of its minimalistic look, they will go very well with minimalistic interiors, but if that's not your style, you can always add some color or details to each of these projects. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to see more clay projects, I've created a playlist with all my clay related videos. I will leave the link to it in my description box, and it also will be shown at the end of this video. And for now, thank you so much for watching, your support, and I will see you in my next video.